If you go into my live studio settings area, you should be able to. Um, Let me turn this music off. Doing this on the road isn't exactly the easiest. Um, oh, hold on. There we go. That's much better. Now I can see you from a little further away. Make a little camera adjustment here. So, in a few, make sure everything looks good. Yeah, all right. Pine Barrens live stream. I am coming to you now from the beautiful backyard of my father's house, and it has been a literal whirlwind since I got here. I was only here, geez, uh, a couple. I'm trying to put do not disturb on. Um, I flew in the morning. Got in at 6:45 on the morning of the 26th, and I will be back at my car at Portland International tonight at 9:30. And coming home is always bittersweet because there's never enough time. Right? There's never enough time to see everybody. There's not enough time to see every one of my buddies that lives out there in the woods. I thankfully got to go back into the pines, so that was really, really awesome, and I'm super thankful for that. But yeah, last night my brother Cody married his lovely now wife Gabby. Um, it was a traditional wedding, in a big wedding hall with tons of food, and it was really awesome. But I definitely feel very out of place at functions like that. I actually had a tie on last night, and maybe I'll put one in to the edited copy of this. But yeah, I feel so out of place at those things. Um, but it was really good to see family members I haven't seen in anywhere from 5 to 25 years. And so, yeah, that made it worth it. You know, Running my feet along my home where I grew up made it all worth it. Seeing my father and my wonderful stepmother Celeste and all of my siblings was worth it. You know, Seeing Dax was worth it. Um, and the other folks that live back in the Pine Barrens year round, taking care of it, making sure that nobody comes back and destroys things. That always boggled my mind. How people can go back into nature and just leave trash, and I just it it doesn't compute. There's like this fritz that happens, and I've seen it so much throughout my life. I think I'd be used to it by now, or any of us would be used to it, because if you're watching this, or whether live now or pre-recorded later, you're probably the type of person that feels the way I do. Gotta start taking better care of our home, people. We only got one. We should keep it nice. We don't need to leave crap everywhere. But yeah, being back in New Jersey too has definitely got me thinking a lot about cycles. I always mention back home how, whereas back home it's much slower, and so that's been interesting to get used to. And then I also noticed, after 6 years in Oregon, almost exactly, coming back here and wandering through the woods and noticing all of the species of everything from moss and lichen to plants, how many relatives of those plants that I now know that live also on the West Coast. They may not be the exact same species, but they're very closely related to where they look almost identical. Especially some of the mosses and lichens. So I always loved that, and I got to check out a few of my indicators. Indicators are things in places that it could be a place I visit regularly, could be a place I don't, but there's something that I observe every time I go to that spot. Whether it's a tree or a rock formation, something, so I can use the art of the wisdom of the marks on it. Asking question after question, how it's aged over the years, or however long it's been since I was there last. If it's a tree, how much bigger in diameter it's gotten, how much taller is it? How is it acting and interacting with the other trees and other beings around it? And when you start to pay attention to your environment that way, you start to notice more and more things, you know. And then all of a sudden, one day, for some people, it might happen in a week. Other people, it might take 10 years, but there is this whole amazingly interconnected world uh, that's secretly going on around me my whole life. And I never took the time to look for it. I'm thankful for the people who find that place and that sense of awareness at any age. Um, but yeah, the best way to keep it from happening is to stop putting our children into factories called schools where they don't really learn much and aren't taught things like, you know, how real world skills. Uh, it's the next generation that's going to have to deal with our mess. It's always, we always pass the buck as a species. Oh, they'll deal with it. Oh, they'll deal with it. Uh, but it's time. Anyway, y'all, I would love to stay and chat more, and I'm glad I got to do one live stream from here in the Pines. Um, Trying to think of any class stuff coming up. Rick Barry and I have that class over Earth Day weekend, The Way of the Caretaker. Um, so yeah, you can link to that from my website. Um, I know I have a few other things I wanted to mention, but I'll put them in the show notes, or I'll talk about them next week when I'm back and doing T3Live from the land of the massive snowstorm that we supposedly got while I was gone. So hopefully I won't have to shovel my car out of long-term parking tonight too much.